eBay sellers, it's Suzanne A. Wells, and welcome back to another Money Making Monday Vintage Item Edition. These sales are taken from my Facebook group. Every Monday we have a Money Making Monday thread. Thanks to everybody who participates, because these videos would not be possible without the Facebook community participating and posting their sales. These sales came from the November 9th, 2020 thread. And just a little housekeeping detail before we jump in. In making these videos, it helps tremendously if your post on the Facebook thread contains a large photo, as that makes formatting for the video so much more time efficient on my end. Sometimes we'll see something like this where you've taken a screenshot from your phone, and this format is very small and hard to read on both Facebook and in a video. So if you are posting from your phone, if you could just take it one step further and click that text that says "See Original Listing," you will be taken to the next screen that looks like this. And it's much bigger, and everybody can read it better and see the photo better. So it is also video worthy. So you can see the difference here on the before and after of that type of screenshot from a mobile device. So it just takes a couple of seconds more to click that original listing text, go to the next screen, and take your screenshot. That would help us all out in seeing what is being posted, and your post stands a greater chance of being included in the video if it's big like that and we can see the text and the photo. So just something to keep in mind if you are posting on that Money Making Monday thread. So we are going to jump in here and get started. These are in ascending order. So let's jump in with Lisa. She bought this vintage Olga mint green lace robe for $2 at a local thrift store. Sold in a week for $20. Well, she's got $19.95. And she says, "Vintage nighties have been great for me." So always something to look for are those Olga vintage nightgowns and robes. Next up is Mia. She got these from a yard sale for $1. They were listed about 3 months. 2 Flower Power pillowcases, vintage fabric. And she sold these for $19.98. And I'm pretty sure the Brady girls had this print on their beds on the Brady Bunch. That looks pretty familiar to me. Definitely vintage. Okay, moving on to Charles. He got this free from a Facebook ad, Facebook Marketplace, sold in about a week. Lot of 20 vintage Harlequin romance red edge paperback books. Sold them for $23.99. They were free. And we have some commentary here. Beth asked Charles. She said, "I just sold some Harlequins too. This was just after I heard a reseller say that they are something you don't want to sell because you can't give them away. I guess now people are interested in buying them." And Charles answered with, "Especially the older ones with good cover art and 70s, 80s color schemes." So don't believe everything you hear and not much of what you see and probably none of what you read. Try it for yourself and see how it works out for you. Just because an item doesn't work for another seller doesn't mean it won't work for you. Especially if it's free, you have nothing to lose. Okay, moving on to Diana, paid $3 at an estate sale and took a best offer of $24 plus shipping after 2 days. Vintage NOS, which means new old stock, Ballston winter thermal wool hunting socks. So basically some vintage socks that still have the tag on them. $3 and took a best offer of $24 plus shipping after 2 days. Okay, we've got Lisa again with some vintage Zermatt styling spray. I remember that brand. She bought it for $2 at her local thrift store, took a month to sell for $25. Now we've got Maureen. She says, another good sale. Bought this old wig at Goodwill bins for 47 cents. Sold for $24.99 full asking price. Not in perfect condition. Bought on October 28th, listed for 4 or 5 days. So it is a 12-way wig by Carlotta. Shag vintage light brown with blonde highlights. And with cosplay and dressing up for all kinds of events all year long. People dress up to run road races. They have conventions. There's all kinds of reasons that people dress up for stuff. This kind of thing is a great seller. So 47 cents and sold it for $24.99 full asking price in just a few days. Okay, we've got Mark Sherrill. Paid $4 at an estate sale, sold for $25 plus $11 shipping. This is vintage, new old stock, Rinso soap. It's washing machine soap, laundry soap. And this was full, so it had the product in it. And it's from the 40s. So $4 at an estate sale, sold for $25. Next up is Sue Chapman. She says she got this at a local flea market for $1. Took a few months to get it sold. Vintage Indiana glass covered dish. It's like a candy dish. $1, sold it for $25, and that is very pretty. Okay, we have Kristen. She said, I have tons of vintage clip-on earrings that I am helping my family sell. Sold these Ivana Trump brand earrings in 1 day. These are vintage signed Ivana Trump clip earrings, pansy and domed red enamel rhinestone. $25, and I'm guessing she got them free since she says she's helping her family sell some vintage jewelry. Next up is Natalie. She says, another vintage 80s toy sale that I got from a lot of vintage toys from a local trading site. This big pound puppy was sold with a lot of small ones too that I'm selling separately. This one was $3 and sold for best offer of $25. Another international sale through the global shipping program. Okay, Raul sold this vintage Metropolitan Opera House New York coffee mug. Bought it for 60 cents at an estate sale. Sold for full asking price of $29.99 in 3 weeks. And this did not have free shipping on it, so it says there's an additional $10 shipping. I went to the listing to pull this up, so it's calculating shipping for my zip code, and I'm in Atlanta, so just wanted to stress that there was not free shipping on this. The buyer paid shipping on top of the $30 for this mug. Okay, now we've got Amy Whitaker. Paid $1.99, sold once on best offer, but they never paid. Relisted, sat another couple of months. Tons of watchers, finally sold on best offer through global shipping program. I'm more apt to take offers from GSP because I know they pay a lot more for shipping. Had listed for months, maybe a year, honestly. Glad to see her finally go. This is a vintage 1987 My Little Pony. So she sold it for $30 and paid $2 for it when she first bought it. Okay, Sharon. She says, our tiller was not fixable, so I sold all the manual parts catalog and some other paperwork that went with it. Listed for $30, got an offer in a couple of days for $20. I needed to get sales moving again, so I came down to $25, even though I knew if I waited I could get my price. After several back and forths and just ignoring an offer that I'd already not accepted before, the buyer paid the $25 plus shipping. This is Troy-Bilt horse rototiller composter manuals. So they're basically manuals for a garden tiller. And she got $25 for them. Okay, moving on to Rosalie, and this is an item I bet you haven't seen in a while. She said, my dad's stash of Sen-Sens, so free to me. Sold this package for asking price of $32.07 with free shipping. I had 18 packages total and have accepted many offers of $20 to $25. Originally listed in July. Have played around with pricing and quantities. Sold a lot of 10 for $230 with free shipping. These are Sen-Sen Licorice Mints Breath Fresheners. It's a vintage candy. So one package sold for $32.07. And there's some conversation over here on the right. Laura says, wow, if I had seen these somewhere, I would have just walked on by. You never know. And Rosalie said, they are no longer sold in regular stores. My dad passed away in December, and Mom pulled out his secret stash. Next up is Raoul again with a set of 4 vintage Tervis golf tumblers. Bought for $6 at an estate sale, sold for full asking price of $32.99 in 2 weeks. And Tervis tumblers can go for a lot of money. They're the one thing in the plastic crap that I actually look for. Our Goodwill has all the wicker stuff together, all the plastic stuff together, all the metal stuff together, and there's not a whole lot of high profit items in that plastic section, but Tervis is one thing that could be. So great sale for Raoul. Okay, now we have Cora, who paid $2 for this item, and it sold within 24 hours. Some Maxell mini cassettes sold for $34.99. Okay, now we have Laura, who purchased this in an auction lot for about $1. Took 4 months to sell and had lots of interest, surprisingly. This is a small 5x8 vintage oil painting on wood. Eagle with the Liberty Forever sign. And it sold for $36.82, and her cost was $1. Very interesting. Next up is Eileen. Got this vintage cast iron Christmas tree stand for $2 at a church rummage sale. Sold for $37.79 plus shipping and took 6 weeks to sell. And that's really pretty the way it has different patterns and textures. That pretty bright red. I can see somebody who's trying to ramp up their home decor and their Christmas decorating really liking this item, because the cheap plastic ones they make now, the Christmas tree stands, just aren't really all that pretty. Okay, next is Carol. She said she bought this coin holder book at Goodwill this past Wednesday for $2.99. It only took about 4 hours to sell at my full asking price of $39.99. And it is an Eisenhower dollar book for coin collecting. So coin collecting is still going strong, and they need all of the supplies and the trappings of the trade, such as these books, to put the coins in, or the books are probably just as collectible as the coins if they are this old. Next up is Becky. She bought this at a Goodwill store for $4.99 and sold for full price after 2 weeks. Vintage 80s leather bomber jacket. That is very cool looking, and it sold for $45. Now we have Melissa. Free from leftover pile from a yard sale. Took about 2 months to sell. Vintage lot of porcelain dog figures and miniatures, collectibles, terrier, dachshund, and others. So just a grouping of little tchotchke dog figurines that she got free, and they sold for $48. I love that when you guys find free stuff, and when I find free stuff, and you can flip it for that much money. Because, you know, one person's trash really is another one's treasure. And speaking of that, this item wins the most interesting item in the video. Lisa, she says, just such a funny find. Paid $5 at a small local thrift. Sold overnight. Mark Eden's The Fabulous Bus Developer from 1965. So you can see there it is. It's this little gadget with a spring in the middle, and you do the exercises, and supposedly it develops the female bust line. So she found it for $5, and it sold for $48. And then Sheila Bennett commented that these were popular in the 70s. So who knows if it worked or not, but that is definitely a piece of memorabilia from the 60s and all the crazy gadgets that people bought. Okay, moving on to Mary. Paid 50 cents each for these 2 light covers at a garage sale. Sold for full price of $49.99 plus shipping in about 3 months. And these are 2 ceiling mount replacement saucer light covers with the Starburst atomic design. So 50 cents each, total of $1 investment, and sold right at $50. Okay, next we have Jessica. She said, these are the last 2 of 8 that I bought from a church yard sale. Paid $1 for all of them. Sold full price plus shipping. Took about 6 months to sell them all. And it's looks like 8-foot vintage wood bead peppermint Christmas garland. So it's made of wood. So $1, and she sold these for $50. Next up is a butter dish. Chrissy said she bought a large set of this pattern at a thrift store for $30. Pieced it out separately and listed at auction this week. This butter dish went up to $52. 5 listings got bids. The rest went in the store at a higher price, so more than paid for my initial investment. This is vintage midwinter Stonehenge sun covered butter dish from England. It's Wedgwood, and it's sold for $52 for a butter dish with basically a yellow circle on the top. So who knows? This just amazes me every time. Butter dishes. If you're not looking for those, maybe it's time to start. Now we've got Savannah, who paid $2 for this sweater at a yard sale. It sold on best offer for $55 in 2 months. Vintage cat pastel knit sweater, made in USA, $55. And this looks like something they would wear on the show Full House, or I remember these in the early 90s, these sweaters with big stuff on them, just the big chunky kind of sweaters with whatever on the front. So keep your eyes out for those in the thrift stores. Now we've got Leah. She said she sold this guy in less than 2 days. Full asking price of $55. Selling for a friend. I get 75% of the profit and free to me. Vintage Jerry Garcia plush doll, 1998, liquid blue, Grateful Dead, sold for $55. And Melanie Johnson said, I have sold him before. Now I'm trying to gather up a collection of the bears. And Leah answered with, I once found a bag of them at Salvation Army for $6. So if you're looking at the plush, this would definitely stand out because it's not really even an animal, it's a person. And if you're not looking at the plush, you might want to start investigating that. Okay, next up is Courtney. She said she got it at the bins and it paid 80 cents, and this item sold after about 6 months. It is the Pink Elephant with Golden Spots book, 1971, big golden book, and it sold for $64.99. Now we've got Tom Anderson, paid $5.19 for this skirt at Goodwill, sold for full price of $64.99 after 2 months. And it's a vintage boho size 14 suspender skirt. So it's like a jumper almost. It's a dress with the straps and you wear a blouse under it. And yes, that was very late 80s, early 90s. They probably wore that on Full House too. Okay, Kristen had some vintage Halloween crepe paper streamers, and this was mixed in with another item that she had, which is going to be in a different video. It was free and sold for $65 in a week. Vintage Halloween crepe paper, cat, witch, pumpkin, jack-o'-lantern. So vintage Halloween decorations. And she did say that these sold after Halloween. This was posted on November 9th. So I wanted to clarify that these did sell after Halloween so that I could use this as an example to show you all that eBay knows no seasons. Anything can sell at any time. So don't let the seasons trip you up or keep you from listing. Okay, now we've got Natalie. This is a vintage Poochie Dog stamper from 1982, bought from local trading site for $2, sold for full asking price of $68.99 plus shipping. International sale. I love selling vintage toys and notice a lot sell internationally. And then Hannah commented that she had this exact stamper when she was a kid in the early 80s. I loved that thing. So it's just a funky little furry dog with some stamps, probably a little tiny thing, and it sold for almost $70. Amazing. Okay, Rosemary bought this vintage Eddie Bauer down jacket for $2 at a thrift store and sold in just a few days for full asking price of $70. So there you can see it's a vintage Eddie Bauer 1936 Skyliner model quilted jacket. $2, sold it for $70. Now we've got Savannah with some Blockbuster video items. She said these are movie display cards from a movie store, obviously Blockbuster. Paid 50 cents for these at a yard sale last fall. Listed for $79.99 and sold it on a best offer I sent out for $71.97. Took a year to sell. So they're basically just promotional items. They're called movie backer cards. They don't have any movies. It's just the paper that went with them. And there were 250 of them. So 50-cent investment that paid off for over $70 in a year. And now we've got Courtney with a find that she paid $1 for and took 3 months to sell. Vintage original etiquette knit women's 1970s dress, mod floral boho hippie print. And this screams Laugh-In to me, where they wore all those crazy outfits. Goldie Hawn, Ruth Buzzy, Lily Tomlin was on there. And they just wore all those crazy kind of outfits. So that is so 70s and vintage. She paid $1 and it sold for $80. And now we've got Wendy, who specializes in jewelry. Paid $20 at a local market, sold for $80 plus shipping in 4 months. Vintage DKNY gold tone necklace with toggle fastener. $20, sold it for $80. Okay, Tanya has a story for us. She sold these vintage 1971 tarot cards. So here's the story. Got for free on Nextdoor. The person offering it wanted it gone as quickly as possible, as in, how quickly can you get them? I'll leave them by the curb. Me, to a 15-year-old who likes such things, can tarot cards be cursed? Teenager says, nope, they're not that kind of object. I shrug and drive over to pick them up and end up super excited because they are still sealed. Listed on 7-day auction starting at $79.99. Receive message telling me that I've listed them too high. I respond nicely that they're sealed and it's the holidays and I'm comfortable with my price. Same person bids on them and gets outbid by a few dollars. Sold for $82 plus shipping going to Canada. So a free item, brand new in the package, vintage 1971, $82. What a great story. Thanks, Tanya. Okay, and the last item is this vintage Taylor Smith Atomic Starburst green covered butter dish. Kim got this at Goodwill for $2.99, asked $110, but took an offer of $95, sold within a week. So that's the second item in this video with the Atomic Starburst pattern on it. $2.99, sold it for $95. Okay, well that wraps up this edition of Money Making Mondays Vintage Items. It's time for the $100 supersize sales, so that video will be coming shortly. Thanks to everyone who posts on Money Making Mondays. Couldn't do these videos without you. Thank you so much for being willing to share your finds so that everybody can learn and become a better picker and make more money. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a profitable and productive day on eBay.